Alright, it looks like it is going to open under this trend line, at least so far. I did trade this for a morning panic bounce play, and yeah, we do have a move right here under the uptrending trend line that I drew. This thing has been uptrending the past 2 days, and it was looking nice, and I was actually looking at this for a continuous breakout towards the morning, so you can see the high here is 11.2, so I wanted a setup where maybe it could already be at 11.2 or be above it or maybe break past it right in the morning, and then it can be like a really nice morning spike because it's in the morning. There's a lot of volume going on. It's uptrending the past 2 days, and it breaks the previous day high, and now this thing can head even higher. But we didn't really have that. It was just starting to sell immediately. I did draw a trend line and then another one right here, and this was a bit iffy because sometimes it breaks. It's kind of hard to see it because the chart is still very fresh, but it's kind of hard because sometimes it breaks past this downtrending trend line and then it immediately uptrends and makes a move towards VWAP. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it, breaks past it a little bit and then it continues to sell off and then it gets back under the trend line, or sometimes it kind of rounds off at the trend line and not under it and then it uptrends. So I kind of had to take a chance with this one at 933. I was in at 1 penny, so right here is when I entered, and I like how it downtrended as much as it did, and then it even got under a penny, and when it broke under a penny, and then it looked like it was trying to turn around, something where maybe it breaks under a penny and then it wipes out a bunch of sellers, a lot of people who are freaking out because it's now back to sub penny stock territory, and then it, just does it briefly and then it comes back. I did enter for that reason because it looks like it was trying to bounce from there, and I was in for that reason at 1 penny at 933, which was the green candle right here. I did sell half of my position at 106 at 934, which was just me trying to sell a piece in case, this is all it's going to do and it's going to sell off from here. And in this case, this was the case. It didn't really get to VWAP. It got right under it, but it didn't get to VWAP, and it certainly didn't get above VWAP. And then I saw the last piece at 935 because it was looking like it was going to break the uptrending trend line, and I got out at 105. So this one worked out. It's been a while since an OTC setup just works out with me, and I haven't really been looking at anything else. This one's a bit too scary to trade because it's like a wide spread sometimes, and it's also a very pricey stock. Yeah, and this one just sold off. And it looks like the volume might also dry up too. Not too interested in trading it anymore. I am looking at RIVN. I do like how it tried to make a move towards 16, but I never broke under it. This could be something where I just don't like the gap down, but this could be something where I can consider if it shows some curving price action for a swing trade setup. So inverse head and shoulder, shoulder, head, and then the shoulder right here, and then we have that 16 risk level. That might be something I might consider. I think it's still too early. Ideally, it doesn't just shoot up straight in the air, right? I want to see that it can ideally do something maybe like this. That would be ideal, but of course, I'm not in control of that. I'll keep looking at Rivian and I'll make an update later. Alright, it is 9:53. I want to see if this setup eventually works or not. I do have a kind of a bad mindset of me wanting to protect the gains I had with OZSC, but ooh, I want to see if it can do it or not. Well, anyway, Rivian many times has broken under 16 and then it bounces right above it because it's like a really important level, this 16. It's a really strong support level and it's bounced off of it plenty of times. Sometimes it doesn't even get to 16 and it bounces when it downtrends. Let's see if it breaks it. This is going to really determine whether the setup works or not, but I did take into consideration a dip buy for that reason. Even though it is under VWAP, I thought it could do something where it can get to that 16 level and then eventually, head towards VWAP. I did buy 50 shares, not 100 shares, because I should have traded 100 shares, but again, I just don't want to have one setup that works and then this one, which is a bit more speculative, something that I have less experience with, trading listed stocks in general, to not work, and then that would be, that would stink. So I traded 50 shares at 950. right here, and I was in that 160328. Immediately, besides the uptrend I had right here, the next candle, it was starting to trade under it, which was not something I wanted. And I decided, instead of my risk level being this wick right here, I was going to make it this one. So if it looks like it was going to get to the 1598s, I'll be getting out of the position. And that's what happened at 952. It had a downtrend, but I had a very lucky sell. When 1598 showed up at the bid, I did place a sell order, but I was able to get out roughly around where I entered, actually maybe even a bit higher. Yeah, just a little higher actually. So this was a scratch, but this thing is still developing and it can still work out, and it hasn't had a wick below this one. It hasn't, made a move under this wick right here. It did do like a bottom here, so I want to see if it just works over a longer period of time, and that was just a chicken. If it breaks 1604, this will be pretty bullish, and I'll make an update later as to what this one could do. Ultimately, it could have even been something where I decided to, oh, I was doing it, yeah. Yeah, by me wanting to protect my gains with OZSC, I ended up not making as much as I could have with this setup. Let's see if it can continue to make a move towards VWAP, which is 1612. It might take some time, but it has the potential, especially because it broke above this range of 1604. All right, well that's a good lesson. I'm sure next time I trade it and have the proper risk level, it won't work out, but at least it shows that it can work. I'll make an update as to what this one does ultimately, but yeah, it's looking nice. And if I had 100 shares and I'm in at 1603, I wouldn't be up that much, but it's working, at least in theory. Okay, it is 10:29 p.m. and I am here to call it off. Overall, today I'm going to be up on the day, 11 bucks and 6 cents, but I could have done much better. As for OZSC, the one thing I could have done better is that I should have had more shares. It seems like I needed to have had, I think, twice the amount of shares for a $100 risk level, right? And then that would have been 22 bucks. That was something I could have done better with that. And I don't like how, even though this setup worked out and everything, how I had to be perfect with my entry, had to be perfect with my exits, which is how I traded it in this trade. But, anything that is not perfect would have been either a bad entry, or it would have been something where I would have been selling into this downtrend. So I want to stay away from setups that, have to be absolutely perfect for, a bounce that wasn't even that nice. This wick did exist right here, but this would have been pretty hard to get. Just to move towards VWAP is all that it was able to do, and I started to sell when it was breaking that trend line. And then as for RIVN, I didn't trade this one the way I should have. I could have done a lot better with that one. It did uptrend and it did get to the goal, which is VWAP. It even had like a wick right here into the 1620s, and it did sell off from there. I don't like how it broke the previous range low, which is around, I guess it's going to be hard to see, but yeah, you can see the previous range low was this 1583. It broke much lower, so now I don't want to trade this thing unless it can put up a higher low. Maybe the head of an inverse head and shoulders now, like the shoulder here, the head here, then it can ideally uptrend into the 1650s and then maybe make a shoulder, and then that could be another long position because then that would be a higher low off of here. But for right now, yeah, I didn't like how it broke it because it didn't offer its a move where it would be a higher low off of here, and then this could have been something where I could be long for a swing trade. In theory, sure, maybe some setups right here when it breaks this trend line, kind of easy to look at it when hindsight 2020, but yeah, this is one of those where it breaks the trend line and it keeps going, and it got to the goal of VWAP. And sometimes I get kind of thrown off because I don't know if I should get in right when it breaks above it or maybe try to be in early and cheeky, although this would have been very hard to call. I think the very bottom, at least it just seems very hard, especially because you can see that it made this low with all this volume, and then it then breaks it with such a small amount of volume, It almost seems like, this thing has more room to head lower, but that's when it turned around. But who knows? I wasn't there when it happened. Maybe it would have looked a lot easier. So yeah, this one didn't really put up, a move where it breaks the trend line here, then it downtrends and tries to trade around it and bottom out with it. This one just broke past it and continued to uptrend. And maybe this is something that I could take into consideration, but maybe not trade as much shares. So I don't know. That could be something in development. OZSC sold off. BBBY did something similar, although this one was a bit more predictable because it was a bit more vertical, but still very hard. And this one also broke this day low right here with all this volume, with not much volume here, and then it eventually turned around and made a move towards VWAP. So yeah, they seem kind of tricky to trade, but I'm sure with more experience I can be able to look at these better. That is pretty much it. There wasn't anything that I was interested in the OTC land besides that one trade I had right here. I didn't really want to try any bounces because OTCs don't really bounce that much anymore, or at least right now. That's it for today. I could have done better with RIVN for sure, and there were a few setups that I could have taken, like these long term, I guess long term for a day trade. 30-minute, 1 hour positions trying to trade a reversal. That's it.